Questions that in the review were true and false may now be multiple choice. Questions that were true and false and remain true and false, some may be now false, some may be revised if they were true in the review sheet. You should definitely read the review, but you should definitely read your notes and the text as well. In terms of bonus questions, guys, almost 100% of the time, bonus questions are based on things we've talked about in class, or based on current events. And what's the standing rule for bonus questions in my class? If you don't know the answer, make me laugh. If I actually laugh out loud, I might give you a bonus point. Actually, if I laugh out loud and it's not completely inappropriate, I will give you a bonus point. I've had a couple of students, actually, the ironic part is, the most dirty jokes I've ever gotten submitted to me on a test were from my human resource management class, where people should know not to write down dirty jokes on a test. So sometimes I question, if I made some bad life choices, but you have to live with them sometimes. With that being said, guys, today we're going to be starting Chapter 4. We're going to have our test on Wednesday, the test for the midterm. And guys, just a reminder too, I will be grading whatever we get done by Friday. For example, your paper that's due tomorrow, depending on my schedule this week, I may or may not be including that in the midterm grade. It all depends if I'm able to get those in time based on all the other commitments I have this week. Are there any questions about this assignment? We covered it a few times. I just want to make sure you're good to go because it's due tonight at midnight. So just remember to get that done. When I say 1 to 2 pages, 1 page is great. Yes, sir.
Did you say anything on format?
On this one, guys, a couple of things based on format. Please, double space. Double space. In terms of give me something that's easy for me to edit. Keep it direct. If you tell me how you would accommodate, we've used the example of Islam, for example, as a faith we might need to accommodate. You can pick whatever faith you want. You can make it an apparel question. Think about how you want to make sure that everybody else in the workplace is also accommodated. So whatever you do, I would address the core issue, but I would also address how are you going to make the accommodation not reverse discrimination to other people as well. Yes? Honestly, I'm not even that concerned about it. This one doesn't even require citations, but if you do cite something, give me an in-text citation. Is that fair? I prefer APA, that's my preferred method, but honestly, good writing is what I prefer on this one. Are there any other questions, guys? Okay, guys, we have to cover something today because we're getting into mentorship day as one aspect that I want you to start thinking about. Guys, on the 25th, we're not going to have class so that you can go to mentorship day. Here's what I'm going to be asking you to do. Whatever session you go to, I'm going to ask you to give me a photograph as proof that you attended the session. I'll be putting an assignment up. Now, for those of you who have me for this class and have me for 203, I'm going to need you to go to 2 sessions because 1 session each satisfies the requirement in those classes. If you choose not to attend mentorship day, or if you cannot attend mentorship day due to a conflict, there will be a writing assignment. I know for me personally, I would rather you go to mentorship day and get something out of the day rather than writing a paper. If you are having conflicts with that schedule, please let me know. So that's mentorship day coming up on the 25th. Guys, this is where I want to spend some time. Yes, sir?
You said just take a picture of it?
Yeah, what I'm going to be doing, you'll have an assignment in Canvas. You're going to upload a picture from the session that you're in. And yes, sir?
So like you just show up the session and just, do you have to like sign up or just required?
You saw I sent that email from Dr. Mika last week?
Yeah.
Yeah, that has the instructions for how to sign up for sessions. You do have to sign up to get into these sessions. So, for example, if you want to go to the 1 o'clock session or the 10 a.m., they have like a sign-up genius thing. So you do have to sign up for it. Now, I'm counting you guys on your honor and your recognizance to basically say that you're going to make use of those sessions. Honestly, as much as I enjoy my time in class with you guys, and I do, I think that day, you getting to spend time with powerful alums is going to be as important, if not more important, than the time we're spending together in class this semester. Any other questions about mentorship? Believe me, I'll be promoting the hell out of it as we go through the next couple of weeks because it's very important. Guys, this is something I do want to spend some time on. I really want your attention for the next couple of minutes so we can talk about what we're doing. Guys, the Center for Community Action is the group that came in several weeks ago. And of course, this group deals with individuals who are what we refer to as high-risk job seekers. So we're talking about individuals who, for one reason or another, are having a hard time making it into that 65% workforce participation rate. You have 3 options as part of this course to satisfy your requirement for community engagement. The first is to assist with material preparation. We're going to talk about what all these mean. One is facilitation, and one is mock interviews. Now here's the deal. In terms of material preparation, I'm literally going to be asking people who sign up for that aspect to help me revise PowerPoints and materials that we're going to use with these populations. The other two, the facilitation and the mock interviews, actually require you to travel from St. Francis to Altoona. We have transportation available for you for this purpose. Here's the deal. Of all of these, material prep is probably the easiest and least time consuming. As such, what you'll get credit for there is your required hours. You're required to put in at least 5 hours in helping me do this stuff. Facilitation and mock interviews, however, if you choose to participate in one of those 2 areas, I will offer to drop your lowest test grade in this class. So you're required to do some kind of community engagement. If you're willing to go the extra mile and willing to help me be on site, I'm willing to drop your lowest test grade in this class at the end of the class. And we're going to explain what this stuff means and what our timelines are in the coming slides. What we really want you to do, guys, is take the concepts we're talking about in class and to apply them. So the dates we're actually going to be delivering training, this stuff is coming up quick. Our first date is actually next Tuesday. We're going to be doing these sessions at 1 o'clock in Altoona on Tuesdays, on 10:15, 10:29, 11:05, 11:12, and 11:19. To get there and be prepared, to be set up, have a PowerPoint projector and all those things ready, which, by the way, we have a projector. All you have to do is bring yourself if you're helping me out with these sessions. We're going to leave campus by around 12:15. We'll be back here by around 2:45, probably sooner. That's to give us safe transportation. The first session on the 15th, we're doing a presentation on soft skills. You guys have heard that phrase before, soft skills. What does it mean? If you say somebody has well-developed soft skills, what do they have? Yes? Exactly right. A lot of the high-risk job seekers we're working with are people who can't do what we do all the time in this class, having conversations, knowing how to shake hands, knowing how to convey positive body language. So that one's coming up in a hurry. The next one, on the 29th, is all about responsible use of social media. How are people under the age of 40 or 50 making mistakes with social media these days when it comes to employment? What are we doing wrong? Yes?
Well, they're not marketing themselves in the right way, like posting things that their employer wouldn't like to see.
That's exactly right. So you're talking about irresponsible use either by not promoting professional stuff or by promoting less professional things. What's a great way not to get a call back for a job interview based on your social media? What's a great way to make sure you're putting a negative impression out there? What's a way to do that? What would cause somebody not to call you back?
Something very personal, touchy matter.
So we're getting into too much politics. Very good. What else? Yes?
Pictures of yourself drinking alcohol.
The cake stand, although it is impressive for your friends, maybe not so much on an interview. So that's the second one. The session that's referred to as I Am Awesome, I don't mean I am awesome. It's a self-esteem session we do because a lot of the folks who work in low-income areas, for example, are people who do have self-esteem problems getting themselves believing that they're capable of getting out into the workforce. Then we're going to be getting into, on the 12th, interview skills. So we're going to actually teach people how to be good interviewers. And then on the 19th, we're going to do mock interviews. Now, the way this works, guys, for these first 4 sessions, I need people who are willing to actually help me present. We're going to talk about how that's going to work. For the 19th, even if you are not interested in presenting, on the 19th, if you're willing to participate in mock interviews, that would also qualify you to drop your lowest exam grade. Let's move on to show you what this stuff is all about. If you choose to say, I'm going to be in material prep, I'm going to help get a presentation together, here's the way it'll work. I've got a series of draft PowerPoint presentations. What I would be asking you to do, if you pick this as your community service, as your community engagement, I would be asking you to take what I give you and revise it. So I would work with you on it. You're going to help me gear the content toward the audience. So if somebody, for example, and we say this, I don't mean any disrespect to our audience. some of these folks may be far less educated than we all are in this room. What would that indicate in terms of how we would need to gear our materials? If we've got people who maybe don't have as high of a level of education as we do, what would change? Yes? That's exactly right. If you guys remember one thing out of this class, I want you to remember this. It's actually a communications lesson. It's not what you say. It's what the other person hears. So dead on. Richard, you're absolutely correct. The other things you'd also want to make sure to do, for example, most of the folks we're talking about here, the folks you're going to be dealing with, are closer to your age than mine. So if you look at my materials, you're going to be able to more closely give them to people your own age as well. If you choose this path, I will meet with you at a mutually agreeable time to go through the materials with you, to give you some pointers on how to revise it. So this is putting some stuff on me too to make sure that I'm working with you. So part of your hours for this, if you choose material prep, if you meet with me an hour outside of class time, that counts toward the 5 required hours you have. If it takes you another 3 hours to research and revise the materials, that counts toward your hours. Everybody in the class is required to get 5 hours. The second part, if you're doing facilitation, that means that the folks who have developed the content for us give us their content, and I work with you to prepare how we're going to present the material. It could be something as simple as PowerPoint. You and I may come up with an idea for an activity together. I need help on soft skills, social media, I am awesome, and interview skills. I've got presentations for all of these. That being said, I need your help. So what we would be doing also, if you have suggestions on content, for example, to work hand in hand with our content folks, if there is another area you feel that we would be able to provide good training, if you get an idea for something that folks at the center would benefit from, we can go back and develop that. I'm up for suggestions. And again, you're not in this by yourself. I'm here with you to help you get that prepared. And then we get into mock interviews. This is probably the one where we might need the most number of people, depending on how many folks show up. How many of you have ever participated in a mock interview? Okay, so we have one person who has done that before. What was it like? Like going through that process, what did you learn from the process?
Well, I did it with career services, so
Yeah.
we had the interview, and then afterwards they showed us a video of your interview, and then went over what you did well and what you did wrong.
Okay.
Kind of talked.
So seeing your own behavior was probably very educational. Yeah, so what we're going to be doing, guys, is doing mock interviews with these individuals to try to teach them how to be better interviewees, how to ask good questions, how to present themselves well. You're really, honest to God, doing a real service for these individuals. And again, if you do that path as well, I will also waive a test grade. Now, what I'm going to be asking you to do, I'll send you this link. It's also listed in Canvas under the Start Here section. We're going to be tracking our hours by going to this. So if you're doing hours for this class, you're going to track them here. Now, here's the trick. If you need service hours for some other activity, whether it's a sports club or a Greek organization, what have you, I'm willing to let you use that toward those as well. I'll gladly sign off on this stuff. I want you to get maximum benefit from this as possible. So again, just to show you what that link looks like, if you go to our main page at francis.edu and scroll down to the Center for Community Engagement, right here is where you can record your service hours. It's very easy. I actually do it for my own service activities as well. At the end of this, what I'm going to be asking you to do later this semester is to offer your personal reflection. What I'm asking you is, what did you learn from working with somebody who maybe was in a tough spot? What did you learn by teaching somebody, working with somebody on how to better make an impression on somebody, how to make a good first impression with a strong handshake, how to be a good interviewee, all these things. I'm going to be asking you to tell me what you learned. I'm also going to be asking you to critique the approaches we took. Did it make sense? Were there things we could do better? Because the next time I do this with one of my classes, I also want to make sure that we do well. So that being said, before we get in, guys, what I have here at the front of the table, I've got a sign-up sheet, and we've got each session outlined. We've got the 10:15 soft skills session, the 10:29 social media session, the 11:05 I am awesome session, the interview skills session on the 12th and the 19th of November, the mock interviews. What I'm asking you to do is to sign up. And so what this means, if you're willing to go on site, under here it says role, content facilitator interview. Put your name and what role you're willing to take on. Again, if you sign up for content, that's great. You're satisfying your requirement that way. Content does not qualify you to have your lowest test grade dropped. The other two do. Are we clear on this, guys? Does it make sense what I'm asking for here? Guys, I know this is outside of class time, so there's one other thing I want to offer. If you really want to go on a Tuesday to one of these sessions and you have a class conflict, because we would have to leave here at 12:15, we won't get back till 2:30, 2:45. If you have a class conflict, I am willing to speak to your instructor on your behalf to see if I can get you excused from class so that you may participate, so that we have this opportunity that's open to everybody. So if you want to participate in one of these sessions but have a class conflict, talk to me, let me know who your other instructor is. I will gladly talk to them on your behalf. Same with coaching or other schedules as well. If there are things that you need me to intervene to give you that opportunity, I want to make sure if you're interested that you have the opportunity. Any questions, guys? Full disclosure, I've never done this with this class before. It's the first time we're trying it. The reason I want to try it is because I think the fundamentals we learn in class are great. I think it's awesome that we know core HR principles. I think it's more awesome if we take it out into the field and actually let you see what this stuff is about. Because you know what? Some of this stuff that we talk about in class, when we actually experience it in the real world, some of the things that you hear may run counter to what we talk about in class. You may meet somebody who has experienced discrimination because they were disabled. You may meet somebody who fell out of the workplace because they had a drug addiction problem or were incarcerated. You may meet somebody who wanted to go to college but had a child. So to me, it makes it very real. And to me, this is where the value that gets added to the theory comes from. So, fun discussions. Any questions, guys? All right, well, on your way out, make sure everybody signs up for one of these sessions and make sure you list which way that you also want to sign up. If you have a conflict and you're asking me to intervene on your behalf, please put a star or an asterisk by your name so I'll know to contact you about that. Because we're starting off next Tuesday, my backup plan, if nobody's able to sign up to help me out for next Tuesday, I can do that session myself, but I'd rather have somebody here with me. And here's the other trick. Because that's coming up so quickly, if you're willing to be a part of that next Tuesday, I'll probably be willing to give you more help than I would somebody who's going later on because of the tight time frame. Okay, we all good, guys? Okay. Guys, I apologize for how long that took, but I want to make sure there are no questions. Guys, what we're going to be talking about today really is the idea of job design and how we design work to fit our companies, our strategies, and also the people who work for them. So we're going to be talking about how jobs get designed, how things happen in the workplace, because it's generally not accidental. We'll be using some examples there as well. We're also going to be talking about, for example, if you're trying to make jobs work for people who are working, how can you get flexible arrangements? We start talking about flexible job arrangements. What am I talking about, guys? What would be an example of the way employers make jobs more flexible for employees? Yes? Yeah, working from home, telecommuting, flexible work hours. Guys, what is one reason in 2019 and beyond that we need to have more flexible work arrangements? What's one current demographic trend? Give you a hint. Involves human beings. That wasn't the one I was thinking of, but it's definitely true. It's definitely true. What's another one? Because what's the other end of the spectrum beside older people? Kids. People are having babies. And not that that's news, because hence the human race, right? But it comes down to more people are having babies without having spouses. And the other part of it, the single parent phenomena is not limited to females now. We have a lot of males who are also single parents. So we got to be flexible to their needs as well, especially if we want to have them in the workplace. We're also going to be talking about how we do a job analysis. Now, you may say to yourself, what is a job analysis? We're going to talk about that, but in layman's terms, we're going to say, what does it take to accomplish a job? Why would you every so often come in and audit the way that people work? Why would you want to see that? Why does Dr. Fry come in to watch me do my job once a semester? Well, it's definitely there's an evaluation aspect. You're right. He wants to make sure the people who are paying for the class are getting their money's worth. But what else could he be looking at? What else might he discover in that process? Let's say, for example, during the entire lecture, the projector keeps on turning on and off and disrupting my lecture. What might he learn from that? Yes? There are things he can improve upon, and also, if, for example, every time I was trying to teach, if this desk were the other direction, I was falling over it, it could mean our work is not well designed. So again, job analysis is taking a look at how people are doing the job. That helps us produce job descriptions so we know what to ask for and candidates for a job. And we're going to illustrate this purpose, guys. Who here still likes carbohydrates? Who here likes sandwiches? Oh, I love sandwiches. I love me some hamburgers. And the age-old adage or the age-old question is whether or not a hot dog is a sandwich. But we're not going to talk about that quite yet. Guys, will somebody volunteer for me when they're home over break? Tell me how you make a sandwich. Oh, please.
How do you make a sandwich?
Yeah, how do you make a sandwich? Like, tell me about, like, when you're home, if you have full access and the fridge is stocked, tell me everything it takes to make a sandwich when you're at home.
My mom doesn't really buy extra toppings and stuff, so just go in there, go in the pantry, get some bread out, some ham or turkey, and you can let it. No, I don't know. Alright, go in the refrigerator, get some turkey or here, and some mustard. I don't really like mayonnaise.
Okay.
Put some mustard on it, some chips.
Okay, so I'm guessing, oh, on a sandwich. I love chips on a sandwich. Ruffles are the best on a sandwich. Okay, so, I'm serious, guys. So let's say I'm in the kitchen. Over here's the pantry, guys. I just got the bread out. I'm taking it over to the counter. I open it up, and here's my bread. I had to get a plate over here from this cabinet here. Well, crap, the refrigerator's over here. So I'm getting my meat. I'm getting my condiments out. I'm taking them back over here. I'm combining this all into my sandwich with my turkey and my ham, maybe a little bit of spicy mustard, whatever you like. And then I get a utensil, cut it sideways, and then I remember I want some chips with my sandwich, maybe an omelet sandwich. So I got to walk back over here to the cabinet, and here it is. I got my sandwich ready to go. I had to walk a lot of different places to get all these components. Is that a fair description, though, how you would make a sandwich? Okay. How's that different than how Subway makes a sandwich? Yes? Exactly right. And it is not accidental. Number one, it's very efficient because let's say, for example, if I'm walking through the line and I've gotten past the initial selection, I'm over to the second part, what can the attendant now do now that I'm all the way over here? They can start the next person getting through the first part of it. Believe me, as fundamental as that sounds, that's not accidental. Compare the way that Subway makes a sandwich, or Sheetz makes a sandwich, or Wawa makes a sandwich, to the way your corner deli does, and I bet it's way more efficient at these places. That is because we had intelligent work design. The job was designed to make sense. I'm going to illustrate this in the most industrial way possible. Has anybody here ever seen the movie The Founder? All right, this is a clip from The Founder we're going to watch very briefly. It's not to say that making burgers isn't hard work, but when we get into more complex jobs, the analysis gets more complicated too. I guarantee you that McDonald's doesn't make burgers exactly the same way now that they did in 1950 because they're constantly revising the process. That's why you audit. Just like in accounting, while you want to see where your money is going, you want to see where all this stuff is going as well. Some of the things we've been talking about, guys, in terms of the workforce profile, the very fact that we've got a 65% labor force participation rate coupled with sub 4% unemployment. Guys, what does that mean for employers? I know we drum this up every chapter, but it's important. What does that mean for employers? If you've got a low unemployment rate and a relatively low labor force participation rate, where are your opportunities to recruit? Any ideas? Yeah. Right now we've got sub 4% unemployment, so we know a lot of people are in the workforce right now, but we've got 65% labor force participation. So we've got right now another 35% of the population that's not trying to get work. What message does that send to employers? Any ideas? What does that mean for the employer? It means you got 35% of the population who's not applying for work. And you have to ask yourself why. What are some of the potential reasons that 35% is not trying? These are all folks who could work but choose not to.
Stay at home.
Parents are part of that for sure. Who else? Yes.
Maybe government benefits that they often run.
People who are unemployed and are receiving good program assistance. What else?
Stuff on social media influencers and stuff like that.
People working in a non-traditional or the gig economy. And we also could have folks who fall into other categories as well. Persons with disabilities, older individuals, people with criminal records. These are populations we would not normally recruit from. When you get less than 4% unemployment rate and you've also got a relatively low labor force participation rate, you may have to adapt the people you're bringing into the workforce, meaning that the work needs to be designed to meet the people that you are hiring. Here's my point. If everybody we hire from McDonald's had a college degree, we could probably cover instructions very quickly. If you did not have to account for people who maybe aren't as educated or maybe do not have the same kind of antipathy, our training could be more complicated too. You're gearing it toward the population that you have to work with. We also start looking at things like skills gaps, guys. What a skills gap means is what are we looking for in a potential hire versus what's actually available. Every employer in today's market realizes they're going to have to train people when they bring them through the door. Nobody walks into Subway saying, I'm an accomplished sandwich artist. They got to be trained. That's what they call them, 2 sandwich artists. And what this all comes down to is makes people more ready for employment. That's the opening for how we start looking at job design. So what's the difference between work and a job? If you're exerting effort, if you're doing something that's making you sweat, that's work. We are doing things. Like part of my work is grading papers. That's work. If I'm preparing a lecture, that's work. If I am meeting with a student, that's work. It's work I enjoy, but it's work. If you group all those things together, now we got a job. This is all those things that come together. And what we do called workflow analysis basically says how does what this person produces work throughout the system. So to put that again, an analogy for a professor. If I grade your paper, I'm working, I'm doing work. If I am seeing a student, I'm doing work. If I group all the things I do together, that's my job. The way outputs of what I do go into St. Francis as a whole can be analyzed through workflow analysis. Guys, what are some ways that I contribute to the system at St. Francis? I'm not saying me individually, but a teacher. What are things that I put into the ecosystem of St. Francis? What are outputs of my work?
Knowledge.
I hope so. But let's think even more quantifiable. This Friday, I have to do something in the system. What do I have to enter? You got it. So that's a quantifiable output of what I'm doing. Workflow analysis. Okay, we're at this point in the semester. Tonkin is entering grades for this many people. Right now I'm teaching 36 students in Biz 101, so total credit hours taught. Those are other outputs that we have. What does a person do? What do they contribute to the system? And how do they do it? So guys, let's look at how this works. You've got all these components that come to produce output. First, you got your inputs. If you're working in the knowledge economy, that might be information, for example. Then you've got whatever equipment you need to know how to use. If I'm a teacher, what's some equipment I need to use? I need to use a computer. I need to use the audio video in the room. People. Well, I'm working with people all the time. I'm also bringing my own experience. I'm part of this equation just by being a human being. All these things together give me the ability to do work as part of a job. And that produces output. With me so far, guys? You guys all right? Everything cool? All right. Guys, to move on, we put this component in that produces what we refer to as job design. And that simply means, for example, that we're taking the things somebody would do during the day and assembling them into a job. Has anybody ever heard this expression? That's not my job, buddy. Raise your hand if you've heard that. It's fantastic. That ain't my job, buddy. Bless you. Has anybody in the course of a job had to do things which really weren't part of their job description? Can somebody tell me something they had to do that was outside of their job description? Yes?
I was the barback at a restaurant, and the cook burned himself. So he was taking care of it, and I had to make it burn.
So you had to go in and do the cooking while this guy was taking care of doing engineering. Wow, scary. That would be kind of scary. A great example though. Anybody else had to do something that wasn't in the job description? Yes.
I was a game attendant, so I was just making sure the games were running fine. And they had a party, and they threw out cake on the games. So I had to clean it up.
So something that was definitely not in your job description, you ended up doing. Here's why we have job descriptions in the first place. When we're doing our job design, if we are doing things on a regular basis that were not part of our job description, that could mean we have a poorly designed job. We gave the lines of responsibility to the wrong person. So job design means you're grouping appropriate types of work together and responsibilities. Would it make sense, for example, to say, Dr. Fry, well actually let me ask you, you guys all know Dr. Fry, he's our dean. What are some of his primary responsibilities? Besides shooting 3 points. What are some of his primary responsibilities? Help me out. Yes?
Administer the truck.
He's making big strategic decisions about what happens with our facilities or our people, absolutely. What else are some of his responsibilities? Yes? He does. He still teaches after he's been dean for like ever, and he still teaches a couple of classes every semester. What else is he responsible for? Yes?
Like, as dean, I guess part of his job would definitely be like, reach out to like different alumni, that are doing well and stuff.
You're absolutely correct. They redid this entire building without taking on any debt at all because of his relationships with alumni. All those things make sense. They all fit together. Would it make sense if we said, hey, Dean Fry, in addition to what you're currently doing, every morning we'd like you to empty the trash in this building? Why does that not make sense? In addition to the fact it's probably not something a dean should be doing, why doesn't that make sense? It's getting paid too much. We could pay somebody a lot less to empty the trash. On top of the fact, is that going to take away from his daily responsibilities? Yeah. Well, here's a little secret. If the trash were piling up in that can, Dr. Fry would take it out himself because that's just the kind of guy he is. But the idea being, if it's a poorly designed job, that stuff's going to get in your way. It's also going to affect your job satisfaction. To use the Subway example again, when somebody's working behind this counter and they're getting your sandwiches ready for you, in addition to the fact it's efficient for them, the fact that they're not running into things and they're not getting yelled at by angry customers, that increases somebody's job satisfaction. There are times, guys. Have you ever caught hell in your life? I love that expression. My uncle taught me. He said basically everybody catches a little hell. Have you ever caught hell for something that wasn't your fault? What happened?
Well, this summer I was a lifeguard, and like somebody was mad because somebody that they didn't like was in the pool, but that really had nothing to do with me. So they started yelling at me, and I had to kick the other person out the pool, even though I didn't know why.
Sometimes you just got to sometimes you got to roll with it, right? Well, I've got hell sometimes for things I had no control over at all, and that decreased my job satisfaction when I'm getting yelled at for something that's not my fault and I had no control over. If you had a server, for example, who was trying to get things to people in their restaurant booths in a timely manner and the kitchen's backed up, and all of a sudden that server is getting yelled at by people getting cold hamburgers, that person's job satisfaction is going down because the job behind the scenes was poorly designed. So it happens all that time. It impacts us physically and mentally. Well, job design, hopefully, will mean by the first time that we put a job together, it'll make sense. If it doesn't, we fix it, we redesign it. So you bet your butt that somebody comes into Subway once in a while and audits that place to say, are the systems we're using efficient enough? And that's what job design is all about. Let's use this as an example, guys. You could say, I said basketball, but it could be baseball, it could be football. Let's say, for example, we got somebody roaming the stands. Let's make it football for the sake of argument. We had somebody who's roaming the stands at a football game and they're selling hot dogs from one of those portable, wearable kinds of things where you throw hot dogs to people. Is that effective or not? What works well about that method? What doesn't? Yes?
Big stadium stuff. It's not like in the quarter halftime, people don't want to miss and bring food to them and they don't even get out of the stadium.
So it's effective on that measure for sure. Are there ways in which it is not effective? Yes.
Doing the hot dogs to go first.
I'm sorry?
Doing the hot dogs to go first.
Yeah, Yeah, especially if you got somebody who doesn't have a good arm on them and they're trying to throw hot dogs and the wrong person's getting their dogs, somebody else paid for it. Are there some people who have more effective skills at throwing than others? Absolutely. And that apparatus itself, when you see people carrying these things, it's heavy. If we're getting new applicants in who are coming in from that 35% that's not currently in the workforce, and they conceivably could be older individuals, they could be folks who maybe aren't physically robust, well, maybe we need to rethink this. Maybe there are better ways to distribute these things in the stands. Maybe we need hot dog guns, just like we have t-shirt guns. The point is, you have to look at how the systems are working based on who you have available to do the job. Guys, here's something I'll tell you too that we talked about in a previous class, but it has impact here. We're seeing more older folks come into food service now than we are younger folks. We're seeing more retirees. If you're McDonald's, or you're Sheetz, or you're Chick-fil-A, how's this going to change the way you design your jobs? What are some issues you could be running into? Yes? Can you imagine teaching somebody over the age of 65 how to use a touchscreen ordering system at Chick-fil-A? So, yeah, I see that. The face palm happens. So we're going to have to slow down the training, literally, in terms of the audit of the position itself. We might need to make the icons on the screen bigger. We might need to have a paper alternative if it's possible, because some of these folks may not be able to do it. Something as simple as food sales occasionally still needs design. Guys, we've been going hard and fast here. Before we get into the characteristics of jobs and people, I would like to pause for a question. Question or comment? Anything in the world? Sir?
Is water wet?
I get this one every year. Corey's asked me this one before, I think, too. I think, based on my limited understanding of science, it sure feels wet to me. How about you? What do you think? Is water wet? So, what's your counterpoint to that argument?
Water makes other stuff wet whenever it touches it, but it's not wet itself. Water is H2O.
So by that argument too, white is the absence of all colors. Do you know what color a polar bear's skin actually is? It's black. Yeah, the fur on a polar bear refracts all the light around it, and the polar bears themselves have black skin. And when polar bears jump in the water, they do so because they're trying to equalize their body temperature, because their heating systems are so efficient they get overheated even in sub-zero temperatures. So that's the only science I know to share with you today.
You know, polar bears, they usually eat salmon, right? Salmon.
Oh yeah, except when they run out of salmon, they eat people.
Yes, and they catch the salmon and they only eat the fat, and they leave all the meat away.
Wow.
They throw the meat away and eat just the fat.
No accounting for taste, is there? I guess it all depends what your daily caloric values may vary. But yeah, that's interesting. All right, see, we had a little science lesson here today. You never know what you're going to get out of this class. But we're going to reset, guys. Let's talk about two things. We have the characteristics of jobs in the workplace. We have the characteristics of people. You're a manager. Which can you control, which can you not control? Yes? That's absolutely correct. People have different reasons why they're motivated. You can make somebody work extra, but you can't make them like it. You can give somebody resources, but you can't necessarily make them smarter. You can, for example, find out what motivates somebody and give that to them and still get the job done, but it might be different for other people. So we started talking about job characteristics. These are all things you as a manager can control. You can provide people the right mechanisms. You can give them the right working conditions. You give them tools to do their job. You can give them good rules to do the job. You can give them tasks and give them timelines and everything else. Those are all things we as managers can control. These are things we can't control. You can't control somebody's motivation. You can't control whether or not they're interested in showing up. You cannot change their physical characteristics unless you make them go to the gym, which is a bad idea. If they don't want to go, they're not going to go. And you can't make somebody smarter or less smart. These are things that you already know you have to work with, and it's all over the map. But they play into each other, guys. Are there ways that we can affect people's characteristics? That's my question for you. I mean, in terms of, we know, for example, I can't change somebody's psychology. Are there ways I can work with it? If I got high performers and low performers, people who are highly motivated, people who aren't, what can I do as a manager to have any kind of impact on the people characteristics at all? Is there anything I can do? How do you motivate people? Yes.
People incentives to work harder.
Yeah, and knowing what those are and getting to know the people is part of that. You may have person A over here who never wants to work overtime at all. They value their free time. You might have person B who's got financial needs who says, I will work as much overtime as you can possibly give me. And giving that person more hours might be motivating. What about if you have two people? You've got one person who absolutely loves working for your company and another one who hates it. Can you still get good productivity out of the person who hates working? Corey, you're nodding your head yes, and I agree with you. Why do you say that?
Well, people, they might not like it. Like, some people don't really necessarily like school, but they see the value of it.
Exactly right. There are ways to motivate people. You might not be able to change who they are, but you can work with it. And the other thing, too, guys, I will tell you that I think, in terms of the people I've met and the time I've been working, one of the most powerful ways you could possibly affect somebody's attitude is simply by listening. If you ask somebody about their life, if you find out who they are and why they act the way they do, people generally don't randomly have behavior. People have a reason for doing the things they do. The person who hates working, that might be baked in. It might just really be lazy. Or they may have had an experience where they worked hard for a company for 10 years and got laid off. That person who does not seem to respect authority, for example, might have an extenuating circumstance in their personal life. Taking a little time to get to know those folks tells you what their motivations are and hopefully helps you motivate them a little better too. Guys, in terms of the types of employees that we have that we're dealing with, these are three of the big ones. Obviously, if you got somebody who's working for you full-time, great. You got a 40-hour-week employee. People who work less than 40 hours are generally considered part-time. Then you also have independent contractors, which are people you pay at a flat rate to do a specific job. We're moving into the time of the year when temporary or contingent workers are also coming into the picture. So temporary, there's a difference between the two, though, however. Write this down. Somebody who is temporary is not necessarily contingent. Somebody who is temporary might say, hey, I'm going to work this summer, but it's not tied to a specific time of the year. I'm working this summer because I need a few extra bucks. A contingent worker is somebody who works during the holidays, for example, because that's a specific time of the year and type of work. So that's the difference between the two. A temporary worker can be any time. A contingent worker is based around very unique circumstances. Make sense, guys? Okay. Well, we're going to talk a little bit more. Actually, after we hit this slide, I'm going to free you guys up to do your sign-ups here. But we're talking about the person and job fit. And what that means, guys, on paper, I might have the right skills for a job and still be terrible at it. Why might that be? What might cause somebody to have great specifications, look good on paper, and still not be good at the job? Yes?
Not adapting to the environment.
Yeah, somebody who's not really well tied into the environment they're working in. By show of hands, who here has ever had a teacher that they knew was really, truly smart but could not teach? Yeah, we've all been in that movie. It doesn't mean the person's not a good person. It doesn't mean they don't know their subject matter. It means they might not be the right person to be in front of a room full of people. It's just like anything else. Entertainers, people who are introverts, are not going to generally make good stand-up comedians because they can't be up in front of people. They might have the best material. They might know great jokes, and if you can't stand up and really engage with a room full of people, it might not matter. So we've got to know what somebody's personality is going to fit with. Even if they've got the specs on paper, you try to match the right person with the right job. Let me give you an example. Somebody who is doing my job, somebody who's teaching, and if you think about the classes that you've enjoyed sitting in, Decide this one. What are some things that make for a good teacher? From a personality standpoint, what makes a good teacher?
Ability to connect with students.
For sure. If you don't like people, you probably shouldn't be a teacher. I agree. What else? Yes? Yeah, you got to be patient because nobody's born knowing all this stuff. Absolutely. What else is a good characteristic that somebody has who's a good teacher? What else jumps out at you? Help me out. Yes?
Like energetic and monotone.
Yeah, if you're talking like somebody who's never inflecting with their voice and moving around, you probably also shouldn't be at the front of the room. And again, we hire people who look great on paper who don't fit in these kind of ways. And what it comes down to is different people fit in different ways. We're gonna pick up this conversation about personality on Friday because we got a test on Wednesday. That being said, we're going to break it right there, guys. And what I'm going to ask you to do, please stop and sign up for one of the sessions. Again, remember, if you do the mock interview or if you do one of the facilitation sessions, you can drop a test grade.